Alive? Yeah, okay. Hi, good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you for this very special edition of TUP Career Cafe. I'm Nitin, and I'll be your host for the day, right? So, as far as TUP is concerned, we started almost 7 years back. This is our seventh edition, starting in 2015. We have grown strength to strength. We have grown in proportion in that sense, and I believe right now we are one of the best and one of the biggest B school competition that we have across the country, right? So why has TUP grown, right? So TUP clearly is a competition which is quite different than other B school competition, other corporate competition. In this competition, we just give you a level playing field. We give you the chance, the bright young talent from premier B school of the country, that you come ahead and showcase your entrepreneurial spirit. As an organization, we have always believed in thinking big, thinking fast, and much ahead of time, right? That is quite visible in all the all of our businesses across the years. You take hydrocarbon, you take retail, and especially the latest in geo since 2015, right? And this entrepreneurial spirit is exactly what we are looking for in all of our future talent, right? One idea at a time. This is what we expect from you. Now you are going to give us your ideas. What is there in this for you, right? So you have chance to directly, if you are in national finals, you are one of the teams who are in our national finals, you get a shot directly at pre-placement interview, which is PPI. That is one. So, but before going jumping directly to TUP, let's talk more about Career Cafe today. The reason for which we are here at this point of time, right? Because being someone who was just in B school just 3 years back, I do understand in first year, second year, we go through multiple questions: which organization to join, what will be the role, what is the culture in the organization, how you will grow in the organization, etc. So that is the exact reason why this year, for the first time, we are thinking of having this career cafe across the specialization, that is human resources, finance, general management, operations, etc. And this career cafe is specific to finance, right? So you will have multiple questions in your mind. Questions will range from what is there for me if I join the finance division of Reliance? Which are the roles? How I'll grow in the company? What are the multiple things I could do across the years? What exactly is Reliance Emerging Leaders Program? Right. So in next 1 hour, what we will try and do is, with the best of our ability, answer most of the questions. Um, so what you can see on your dashboard is you can see a chat room. In next 1 hour, you can do is share your questions there. We'll try to take most of the questions from there. Now, just to ensure that most of your questions are answered from experience point of view, we have two of the best finance leaders in Reliance with us. So, just a short intro. We have with us Mr. Kashyap Modi, who is Chief Investment Officer of Reliance Industries. And second, we have with us Mr. Faneendra Badli. Faneendra is CFO of fashion and lifestyle business of Reliance Retail. So we have two of the best with us. Both have clearly very different experience in finance. So we'll try and understand from them what the experience have been in the company, before company, in Reliance. What are the opportunities that you guys can think of coming into Reliance Treasury and Finance Division, right? So I would like to request first Mr. Kashyap and then Mr. Faneendra to just introduce themselves a little, and then we can take ahead from there.
Yeah, fine. Thanks, Nitin. Thanks for the introduction. Good evening, everyone, and though lated, but happy Diwali and a very warm wishes for the new year ahead. And I have been working with Reliance for almost 10 years now. I'm a chartered accountant by education. I'm part of Reliance's treasury. the day since I have joined, and I've been managing investments for RIL. By investments, we mean the cash that we have on the balance sheet. So, along with my team, we invest that in fixed income assets in India. Prior to that, 10 years, I worked with Citibank India in Treasury. So I've largely been a financial markets guy all my life, trading and investing fixed income assets, currencies, and equities. So it has been a very eventful journey all through the 20 years of my career. Right. So there's a lot to talk. There's a lot to discuss. I mean, I'm sure through the course of the next hour, we'll speak a lot about it. I'll pass it on to Funny for his introduction now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy Diwali, and also wishing you a very happy New Year, which is on the corner. So, 25 years of finance experience I have. So, first 12 years into multiple capital goods, Wipro, Kirloskar industries, which is in all different types of industries. In the last 13 years into retail, especially the fashion retail. So that's been the predominant journey I have. Out of this 13 years, if you look at retail, it is also changing. We are now online. So I am one of the few guys who are, for out of 13 years retail, around 11 years with online retail also. So I have the experience of both online and offline. So it's a channel the experience we have. So I am working with now with fashion lifestyle as a CFO, and just to give a background in terms of out of 25, around 12 years I'm into CFO now. So, and worked in multiple geographies, areas, and be it in the state office or in the HO or a factory. So to have a 360-degree view of the entire finance function, how it works. So it is, be it a business finance, be it a corporate treasury, be it a, as a part of startup, a lot of experience in terms of investment, also corporate accounts, working with auditors. So end-to-end finance exposure as a head of finance in 13 years and overall 25 years is what I bring in. And then main Reliance for last 10 years in two stints. So I'm one of the guys who rejoined back Reliance. So that just tells us. So 10 years in Reliance in the retail space. Yes, Nitin.
Uh, Yes, wow, that's quite a journey, Fanindra and Kashyap. So just to all of our participants who have joined this session, I would request you once again that we are live. We can see your questions if you are putting any. So just to take maximum benefit out of this, because we have to experience people with us with more than 40 years experience between them together. So I would say just keep on posting your questions, and as we go ahead, I'll try and pick the best out of them to have answered. So I would request once again to please start bombarding us with your questions, right? So yeah, so going back to Kashyap and Fanindra, I would say there's quite a journey both of you spoke about, right? So and I'm quite sure that students who have tuned in today would be very excited by all the opportunities that lie ahead if they join this organization, right? But if I have to take you back to our what our motto is, right, as a company. So we are always here in Reliance speak about growth is life, right? And this clearly stems from our fundamental ethos that we constantly think like entrepreneur, right? When people were thinking, not even thinking, then we just went ahead and disrupted telecom market like anything in 2016, right? So that's what thinking like entrepreneur is there in most of the people who work in RIL. Can each of you can take turns, anyone can go ahead, like in your day-to-day work, like in investments for Kashyap, and then in corporate finance and FP&A for Fanindra. Can you tell us about how do you see in your day-to-day work the people you work with on your own, this entrepreneur zeal that they have while working for RIL?
Yeah, that's a the interesting subject to talk on, right? So I've been 10 years here now. What is starkly different, or from where I worked earlier, or probably other organizations, is I feel in the DNA of the company there is a relentless pursuit of excellence. Okay, and it percolates right from our chairman and goes down to the junior most guy in the team, where that pursuit of excellence is drilled, right? So we kind of always end up challenging the status quo. We never believe that this is the only way a particular thing can be done. If in year one we do it in a particular way, can we really change it in year two? Obviously yes. And can we again rechange it in year three? The answer is yes, right? So in that drive for of excellence, we keep challenging the status quo. And it is hierarchy agnostic, right? If someone who is even 6 months into an organization throws up a bright idea, it is heard, it is debated, it is assessed, right? And no idea is just squashed at inception, whether from whomsoever it comes. And that's what kind of makes the job role on a day to day very interesting, because you're constantly challenging yourself, you're constantly intellectually challenging yourself, trying to arrive at a better outcome, even on a day to day basis. You're attempting to benchmark yourself with the best in the industry, with an obvious desire to do better than the benchmarks, better than the best. It's never about I we want to be as good as the market. No, we want to be definitely better than the market. The question is only how much better can we be within the domain that you work in. So I think that is what clearly drives the company, and that is what drives every individual who comes to work on a day-to-day basis. I mean, and I'm sure people love that. People love that spirit which is there in the company. Funny, over to you.
Yeah. So, see, one thing I always tell a lot of people and even to my team. So there's never a dull day in Reliance. Believe you me, you never know how exactly your months and years gets passed away. The reason I will tell you is we are challenged on a daily basis, either on the scale expectations, new business fronts, new business ideas, or including new geography experience. So be it actually acquisitions, integrations, new technology features, be it automation, there is enough and more to learn and do what is required as an entrepreneur thinking. Why I'm saying all this is, in fact, in my this journey itself, I have seen many startups. So I keep telling people that you are part, you are should be very happy that you are part of a startup in a large organization, because I have been in a startup, so I know how exactly it makes sense in terms of getting funding and round three, round four funding, managing the VCs and all. So here the finance is there, but you have all the other challenges of startup. Be it, let's say, I have been startup for the entire omni journey for Reliance Trends. Let us say the Azure.com startup, for example, or a Project TU store startup, or even we are now, we can't share some of the details, but the amount of acquisitions and the integrations which you are getting into, and also the new formats we are creating into. I'm only talking about the F&L space, the fashion lifestyle. Believe you me, there's a lot more happening in the digital and the grocery and the pharma space, and the amount of new areas and growth which are company is looking at. I think there is enough entrepreneurship mindset which the company has, and it pushes us to do every day something new. I think there is never a dull day, and I want to repeat it. And you can be, there's a best way of, you are in a startup in Reliance. So that's the way it happens, because there's no funding issue, but for the right ideas, of course. Otherwise, the treasury person is sitting here only. So, but but for the right ideas, for the right scaling up business, be it a technology, be it geography, be it anything else, there's enough opportunity for all of us to grow in this company. Anything.
Right. That's nicely put, Fanindra and Kashyap. So we actually have a very interesting question. So this time from participant. So question, they want to know more about your journey. So question clearly is worded something on these lines. See if you can go back, say 20 years, 20 or 25 years, and then you have to, at this point of time, to someone like them who are yet to start their corporate journey, right? So if you can go back 20 years and give them one advice, which according to you, both of you, they can be multiple, right? They can be two, three advices, but then according to you, one advice which is crucial, one can say, which can make or break what we call in today's term successful career, right? It can be about corporate career in particular or in life in general. So that is somehow the question is worded like just advice to younger people like us.
Yeah, so I mean, if I had to go back and with all the gray hair that I have now after 20 years, if I had to go back and restart, one thing I would clearly take back with me, and that hence applies to everybody on the call today, is that education, whatever you are, right, a CA, a MBA, IIM, or any for that matter, any education, right, gives you a ticket. It gives you an entry ticket into an organization. From there, your growth, your success, how good or bad you be, is largely a function of your attitude, your perseverance, and your softer attributes, right? Because after a point, everybody forgets. I mean, nobody tracks on a daily basis you are from which organization, right? IQ is important, necessary, but it is attitude which matters a lot. We want people, organizations want people who are keen learners. Organizations want people who are hungry for hard work, and organizations want people who are willing to think differently. And we also look for the same. It is the attitude which matters, is the willingness to learn which matters, and it has to be done on a day to day basis, right? Because all our careers are 30 to 35-year careers. Do not expect to build Rome in a day. Keep adding that marginal value and improvement to yourself on a day to day basis, and eventually it will start compounding massively over a longer period of time, right? So keep that in mind and keep getting sharper and smarter on a day to day basis. Fanindra, on to you.
Yeah, so I think very well put. Kashyap has said, but a couple of things I want to add. Actually, if I just remember initially, what happens when you are very excited to be part of the corporate world, but actually not sounding to be scary, but the reality hits you in terms of you need to start learning how to stand on your own in terms of working with the peers, the colleagues, or whatever it is. But also you have to learn how to deal with the situation, so which is critical, because at the end of the day, it's the softer aspects which matters most compared to the see. We expect guys to know the basics and the education is anyway there, but what sits on top of it is the softer aspects, the softer skills, how to say no. I think it's one of the important things which most of us don't know sometimes, how to say no and how to align teams. See, Reliance or any other corporate, because I had the opportunity to work with, let's say, MNCs or startup, okay, and Indian companies. But everywhere else also, it's also about how to align people, how to take people along, how to get the things done. So I'm sure it will be at a leadership level. So there'll be also to see how to manage the teams, how to get the things done. But most important is the confidence. I think it is the confidence which will take you to the places and never lose it. The reason is, even if you're not sure about what you're doing, is the way you protect, the way you show it. Obviously, there will be stuff and you'll go back and learn and come back. But the confidence is key, and then that is one thing which you can never lose it. And initial years, which I have done also, and then I will never regret it. You have to. I'm not saying trade off, but if given a chance between a comp versus a profile, okay, including geography or including experience, choose profile, choose the experience initially, because it is an investment you're doing on yourself initial years, because it will take you to the places later in the career you will never regret of. Initially, I have seen a lot of people who trade off between a early comp versus a profile. Okay, they get stuck after some years. Okay, it is the learnings, because let me talk about finance. There is finance is one word, but there are so many functions within the finance. In the even it has so many geographies. There's a HO, there's a branch, there is factory, there are multiple things. So even that makes important things that what exactly I want to learn. So maybe initially people may not know that what's the right profile for me. Okay, there are some advisors, mentors who will do it, but please don't compromise on the experience and the learnings you get it into initial years. Believe you me, that's a foundation for your later years. These are some of the inputs I thought I will share here, Nitin.
Right. So If I can take key takeaways from what Kashyap and Fanindra said were clearly 2 3 points. One, that EQ is equally, if not more important than IQ. That is one, because what you have done in your B school as MBA or CM, that helps you to get the entry at what Kashyap said. That is one. Second, I think three C's, if I can take out from this, two from what Kashyap said. One was to be curious, right? Always eager to learn something new. That is, curious was one. Second was confidence, what Fanindra said. And clearly, third was compounding, which Kashyap mentioned, that over years it grows over time. And third, I think will be very relevant for the people who have joined, is to give a lot more importance to the profile in the initial years for a company, because I'm quite sure that all the students who have joined, this will be one of the key dilemma they'll always have. I think over the lifetime they'll have company versus profile. So third one, I would say takeaway for me, to focus on the profile over this, right? So so we already have 2 3 more question. So one is very technical in nature. Let us take one which will, I think personally, which will be helpful for a larger group. So what are the key expectation from a finance Reliance emerging leader, finance management trainee, as well as interesting projects that leaders are made a part of? This question from Sahil. So important expectation from a finance management trainee, and few of the projects without divulging much detail, sensitive info that they can be made a part of.
So, expectation from an expectation perspective, we did mention, right? We want, once you come in, we want a hunger for to work harder. We want a hunger for to know more, hunger for learning. Clearly, attitude to work in a team, approach and attitude to work in a team, assume responsibility when given, clearly, are would be the key expectations. I mean, those are probably the obvious ones, right? However mundane a work it seems, there is always a lot of learning from what that work profile is, and it'll always help you, as Fanindra said, in the later years in your life, even though it might be a trivial job role. uh, Having said that, in RIL, when you come into a firm, right? Say, let me talk about treasury. When the question is interesting projects, the treasury is massively vast for a corporate as large as RIL, right? So one team takes care of, as I told you, investments. We invest in fixed income assets in India. There's another team which takes care of foreign exchange risk for the whole corporate. There's another team which does fundraising in local currency. There is a team which does fundraising in foreign currency. There is a team which is taking care of M&A in the company. There's a team which takes care of working capital financing. So just this is a very small part of finance for RIL as a group. So there's a lot of things that happen, and there are a lot of everything is interesting because of the scale at which we operate in, at the intensity at which we operate, and the drive to be ahead of the curve, be first in the market for various things, or probably I can say for almost everything, is what makes the job role very exciting. And that would same things would be expected out of a new joinee into the company, whether you are 6 months with us or 1 year with us or forever with us. That culture, or we will embrace you in the same way, and we will make you swim along with us. Fanindra, up to you. Over to you.
No, no, I think I'll just add more projects because you said the thing. So maybe in the non-treasury area, in terms of there is a business finance, there is a FP&A, there is a category finance, there is operations finance, there is a new businesses finance, and there's a lot of startup related activities which has to happen. There's a projects which will be taken up. So there are multiple projects in the line functions in the finance for the business which is required. And also apart from that, there are a lot of vertical functions, which is treasury, which Kashyap was talking about. There's a shared service organization. Now we have a lot of taxation. So there's a multiple projects which are available, which can be looked at for finance REL as a interesting projects.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Kashyap. Thank you, Fanindra. So we have another interesting question. I think this is specific to Fanindra. Since you have worked in a corporate as well as startup both. So the question is, how does the fundraising process differs? So in established corporate, say like RIL, and how different it is in a startup where you have to deal with external private equity investors?
So honestly, this is more tougher than that, honestly, because the people who we are dealing with is much more knowledgeable, and they also know the strengths of Reliance. So the process of creating the cash flows and the IRRs and what is the requirement of the funding, I think there is no change to that. Though it's internal funding versus investor funding, maybe you can have a VC or a PE funding, but the okay, in Reliance it's only PE and upwards because there's no small funding here. It's everything happens in large scale here, right? So there is no difference in terms of the approach, but the difference in terms of the other side is so critical here because the leadership here understands, because at the end of the day we are into multiple business, and at that level they know each and every business so detailed. I'm not saying that investor don't know, but they will compare us with other startups. Versus in Reliance, what happens, we get compared with our own other businesses, and then the competition is much tougher here to getting any funding to be done here. So the process of approval is slightly tough and difficult, but that's the right thing to do, right? Because you need to ensure that the money is spent on the right projects, and then expectations are quite high because growth is critical for us. So the business approach may be similar, but the approval approach will be a little more tougher. But that's where the challenge is, right? You have to ensure that you convince them to invest on your ideas, and then believe me, once they invest, then they will not ask for X days, and then you will be have to deliver it. So that's anyway happens in every company.
Right. Thank you, Panindra. So now we have another interesting question. This is, I think, directed towards Kashyap, as this is more related to investments. So, what I understand from the question is, so currently everyone knows that working on the job, working on the ground is the best way to learn, right? But then at the same time, all the participants who have joined, they are still student either in first year or second year. So there's the question around investments at this point of time. Someone who has to improve his or her skill in this particular area, say investment management. So, being CIO, what would be your top three, top five recommendation to a student? Now, apart from being on job, obviously, so this could be any interesting course. Books are always the best way to learn, or any movie that you can think of. So worded something on these lines. Yeah. Yeah,
To
you're
be a
mute.
better money manager, okay, to be a better money manager, clearly, as expected, anyone needs the basic education, right? Whether it is a CA, a CFA, or a management graduate. But once the basic education is there, after that, being a money manager obviously requires you to be on top of a lot of short term and medium term developments happening in the world, right? With in different parts of the world, in different economies, in different spheres of the economy, whether it is technology, whether it is climate change, whether it is corporate governance, apart from the regular macro factors that we work with, which is growth, inflation, etc., etc. So that every individual should have that intellectual curiosity to know and understand what's happening. Why is Byju's, while say people managing fixed income are away from what's happening with Byju's, but why is Byju able to raise so much money? How is it that investors are valuing Byju's closer to $20 billion? While it does not impact my work on a day-to-day basis, but I need to know and understand what's happening and why. That is how I build my perspective across various things happening in the economy. To being money managing money requires a different mindset, right? So it requires one to be calm, it requires one to be composed, it requires one to not panic when things are not going your way. And that largely comes from being going through the grind, It comes from a bit of experience to withstand the noise when things are not going your way. And in that scenario, that to work on that, right, to build on that, what can really help you is how do you calm your mind. So whether you I mean, I believe in, for whether you do meditation, or I'm a long distance runner, and I believe that that has strongly helped me have the frame of mind that I currently have. Right, so whether it is meditation, yoga, long distance running, whatever works for you, but the ability to have a composed mind, the ability to think clearly, the ability to take big decisions without getting swayed by emotions are the ones which make you a better money manager. Yeah, Nitin. So I mean,
Okay.
that's what I have on this
Yeah.
question.
So, okay. Kashyap, if I can ask a follow-up question. So this is not from anyone, this is from me personally. So what you just said, can I glean this from it that knowledge of the markets is a kind of a base that you want, right?
Yes.
In terms of equity or fixed income. But then, can I take have a key takeaway from your answer that more than markets is more on how you deal when things are going wrong on emotional level, right?
Yeah. So behavioral
Psychology is more
finance, right?
in.
How do you behave in at different times at work, when things are going your way, things are not going your way, the disciplined approach, the importance to risk management, all those things theoretically you will learn, and which you should learn. But after that, it is just the, as I keep saying, it's the curiosity to know what's happening across the world, and the fact that how do you manage yourself when on a day-to-day basis, and also when things are not going right, and things when things are going right. So a lot of it comes from books, right? So I end up reading a lot of books related to finance, related to businesses, related to business houses, which kind of mold and shape your thinking over a longer period of time. So I mean, these days knowledge is available at a click of button, right? It is the grit and the tenacity to sit and read a 400-page book over 1 month. Not many people do it, right? Because it's far easy to just Google a 10-minute YouTube video which will give you a summary of the book, which is what most people end up doing. But it is the effort put in reading that book which will help you absorb and give you a lot more than the 10-minute video summary.
Got it. Got it. Okay. We thank you, Kashyap. We have another interesting question for Fanindra. So question is worded around digital, the way the world is being digitized now, right? The transformation that we are having on a grand scale, even in our own company, right? So the area in which you work, Fanindra, I'm sure in FP&A you have lots of cash flows. And just giving one example, the question is worded like this. I'm using my own experience to have a very specific question rather than generic question. So do you see in the future, because I'm sure that in many companies, people now are using, say, artificial intelligence and machine learning to even predict cash flows, right? So in your area of work, you see AI or ML, are there limitations for replacement of a human being in doing work which is finance, which requires emotion, which require decision making judgment? Or are we not far away that AI or ML can actually do those jobs?
So I'll split this into two areas. Okay, there is you're touching upon automation, digitalization, and the ML and AI part. So I think if we recently had a meeting with some other big four, what is happening is if you look at transaction automation, which is already there, and that is when a lot of the low end jobs are getting lost. So transaction automation is almost there, and Reliance, anyway, for the growth we need automation, so that is happening. So but now when you come to AI and ML, this is a niche. This can actually replace some of the niche areas. We, in fact, in our own analytics team, we have statisticians who can predict the. We can actually build the models for prediction. What will happen to sales today basis the curve? We have a dashboard which will tell us what might be the end of the day sales. Example. So live data we get to know. So there are statisticians which are available, which are happening. What actually it does is, it does not take away the critical job, because the transaction automation takes away those mundane jobs. But when it becomes the high-end job, even the AML, we need, yes, it can do on its own. It will maybe reduce some of the jobs maybe later, but something else may come up in lieu of that. But yes, but for, if I talk about Reliance per se, especially retail, when the growth is so much, and then we are talking about a different scale, it might take a couple of more years for us to get the machine to learn our history, because we are in such a growth phase. I hope you're getting what I'm saying, because our history versus what we are doing is a different scale. I'm not talking about an industry which is 50-year-old. There's a standard learning available and it can predict the models. We are not in that industry, unfortunately, in retail. Okay, every day new businesses are getting added. I just spoke about the entire entrepreneurship thing which we did. So in this background, the ML and the AI parts are important, maybe a couple of years later, but at this juncture, we are more into ensuring that the projects, we're in the project stage technically. Look at it in a largest startup, or the way chairman says for Geo. We are also in a similar type, so that it will take a couple of years, but we will be there in that.
Okay, okay. So key takeaway being that the kind of new things that we are doing, because even if say any bot in by using AI has to do something, they have to use that data and learn by itself, right? So since we are doing new things, it will be quite difficult to replicate that at this point of time. But then 2 3 years
Yes,
when we have a lot more data, then maybe we can think of redundancy in terms of mundane jobs. So it is
yes, yes,
important to be a linchpin in an organization to do something which is very crucial, if I can
yes,
take away from your discussion, right? So again, no discussion in last 1 year can get complete, um, can be complete without discussing about pandemic, right? So I think one clear takeaway from the pandemic from organization point of view was adaptability, because when organization is small, then business continuity is not that difficult. But then for the scale of RAL, like biggest corporate in the country by market cap, we are the biggest. I think we have most, after Indian Railways, most private sector employees, right? So at this point of time, what has been the way we almost for most of the time we are working even till date work from home, right? So what you have to speak on the adaptability, the way the company adapted and shifted from work from office to work from home, and still till date I think we are one of the few companies who are still continuing to work from home, right? So any your take on that?
I think it's just as we've been saying so far, right? It's clearly the agility and the of the organization which just lock, stock, and barrel. We shifted to work from home in a matter of, I think, 3 4 days at that time. And for a lot of outsiders, right, it was like a bit of a surprise that one, a corporate like as large as RIL, and can be so nimble in terms of adaptability that we just move lock, stock, and barrel to work from home. Two, we have, as you said, we have been the last ones to resume working, and still today we are working from home, and probably it could be another few weeks. Uh, which also tells us about the value or importance given to the health and well-being of the employee, right? We still the initial thought was, and probably still is that we don't want to risk the health of an employee unless it's absolutely necessary and required for the employee to step out. As long as we can manage the same efficiency working from home, we should continue till most of us are, or almost everyone is vaccinated. So I think it is the adaptability, the tech platform, uh, platform that we have quickly enabled us to shift online. The processes that we built around in terms of engagement, right from the topmost leaders in the organizations to other senior leaders, the engagement through online medium has been frequent, has been diligent, to ensure that everyone feels engaged. Everyone feels as close to each other in a team as they would have felt otherwise. So I think that is the So I think that all those things have clearly helped us work in a very smooth and non-disruptive way. And it has also now opened up a plethora of opportunities in terms of thought processes, that we can now have people in the team working from anywhere, and hire people who are not closely located to office or in the same city, etc., right? So it just helps the company hire people, talent across the country, if not the world. And it also tells the world that a corporate as large as RIL can also has the elephant can also dance. Let me end by saying that. Fanindra, I mean, your retail has been far more complex, I'm sure.
No, no, I agree. I think I like the way you said elephant can dance. I completely aligned to that thought. The only one thing is in the finance also, nobody could think also, especially Reliance and also finance. And when it started, we were supposed to close the year-end books. Like March end, we were supposed to get the audit done, and we were supposed to. And there are instances where the physical verification, especially in the Reliance brands and some of the high category items where each bag costs 6 lakhs, the all the luxury brands stores, the physical verification was done through phones and video calls. The adaptability which I'm referring to is unheard of. In terms of closing books, we complete all the committee meetings, everything what happens today. And as Kashyap said very clearly, we are not a tech company where work from home comes naturally to this business. And as a Reliance is one, I think most important is the way the company has taken care of people in during these times is worth mentioning. Okay, and very few people will know outside how exactly the company is taking care of the employees. Believe me, it can be medical, it can be expenses, it can be requirement of creating hospitals. It can be it is campuses getting turned into there are enough things which has happened. For we know closely what's happening, especially in the finance and all. We know what type of spends are happening and all in terms to these areas. It's a different level which has been, I think, it showed a different phase of Reliance during this pandemic. I think that is what was required, and it was always there. It was not seen outside, but during this time it came out very clearly. And happy to part of this during this time to see this phase of the company.
Yeah, I mean, the way we put the country first, or human lives first in the company, actually stood very tall, right? We don't speak. The company doesn't speak a lot about what we do on the social responsibility front, but this was one time where we stood very tall and really went out of the way to build or help the nation in this medical emergency. And I'm sure nowhere it will be spoken as much as is required in this, at least especially in this effort endeavor.
Right, Kashyap and Panindra. I think it is also very important to speak about this in this call, because all this thing make up the culture, and culture, I think, should be one of the big reason why any new candidate should think about joining a company. And just to add into what Kashyap and Panindra said, we are not only the last one to start. Most of we are still working from home, but if I'm not wrong, I have friends in multiple organization. We were one of the first to go work from home, because I remember we went into lockdown on 23rd March 2020, a national lockdown, but we are working from home since 1 week already. We're working from 16th of 17th March. So that's, yeah. So that's also a crucial point, right? So yes. So just to have another question. So we have a question on how do you, I think it's directed towards Kashyap. How do you see the roles of equity analysts transforming in the future? Very open-ended question.
Yeah, pretty open ended. But so, what will change? What has changed over the last few years, right? Is it's just that the availability of data, the ability to crunch data has become far more easier because of the growth in technology. But still, what doesn't change is the ability to, or the need required to understand a company as an equity analyst, the need required to understand the sector, the need required to understand a company as an equity analyst. And because each sector is evolving so fast, and each sector, even though it's not only the IT sector which is evolving, right? It is retail, it is pharma, or you pick up any sector which is evolving fast because of the growth that we are seeing on technology. uh, it will, the role might not change, but you're only the need to stay up the curve on developments on your sector will become far more. You can no longer be stagnant on the knowledge that you have or the developments that are happening across your sector or in your company. So I mean that is how the roles will kind of change, but I don't see any material change that can probably happen. I mean, if your question is directed towards can analysts be replaced by can human analysts be replaced by algos and technology, to some extent all the mundane work will be done by systems and algos, but you will still require a human interface to see through or to take a judgment call on where the sector or the company is headed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kashyap. I hope Rishabh's question is answered. So now there's a question on RELP, right? Reliance Emerging Leader Program. So as Kashyap and Fanindra, you both know, the structure is we have this is a 2 year program structured in three stints. So we have 6 month stint, 2 6 month stint, year one, year two, and then in the third year, in the second year, you get placed into a particular vertical in a team, and then you work in that team, right? So you have like multiple rotation. You can go into your first team, second team, or you can go to a third altogether different team in the second year, right? So I have just question for both of you. What are the benefits, what are the pros and cons, if any, you think of this particular program, that is a new candidate spending 6 months in team A and then 6 months in other team, and maybe 12 months in third team, right? Or first or second, depending on the availability in the team and the project's rules, etc. Right? What are the pros and cons, if any?
See, at the stage when we are doing this, which is your first jobs, right? I honestly don't see any cons. I only see pros, because going through three different job roles, three different domains in your first 1.5 2 years will actually open up your thought process. Okay, it will tell you what different parts of an organization are and how different parts work. It will ensure that you will make not only 50 friends, but you will end up making 200 friends, or at least acquaintances in the company, which is also extremely important. uh, Third is, eventually, whenever you cement yourself in a particular role, it is not that what you have learned in other different roles will never be helpful. It will always be helpful. I mean, I for that matter, when I started in Citibank, I was working within treasury in a different role, what we used to call as risk management, or yeah, risk management. And when I moved to treasury, the actual dealing part of treasury, I could know, understand how the risk management team thinks, how much can they comprehend, how much can the market facing guys can comprehend, right? It just helps you deal with them better. It just helps you solve problems and issues better. And hence I believe that in the first 2 years, you go to 2 3 different roles. It will only help you. You spend 6 months in retail treasury, you spend 6 months in corporate treasury managing foreign exchange risk, you spend 6 to 12 months in petchem treasury. I mean, you will know a lot more about the company, the culture, the people, versus spending 2 years only in investments. And after, it also helps you realize or helps you know and understand what will you love to do. See, it's very important for young guys in the first 2 3 years of your career to figure out what will drive you to work every day morning. And if you get that right in the first 2 3 years, you move to that specific role, and then career will not be a work anymore. Then it will be a place you would love to come to work every day. So that working through 3 4 different roles in the first 12 months, 24 months will only help you decide that better. And hence I don't think there are any cons, and there are only pros to this. Nitin, Fanindra, your take.
No, I think completely aligned. I think this is a no-brainer. There is no issues here. Oh, the only additional thing we can add is because of the is a Reliance, there's multiple verticals and businesses. I think the way you give the example of treasury, it also helps the students to understand other businesses, and then maybe there are we have dealt with such people in our experience, right? So they come with a very different mindset. They bring a different knowledge because they had a different types of experience in terms of the way they do in different businesses. When they bring it ideas, so what happens is, first of all, it again, I'll bring back the conference point, because they feel happy that they are able to contribute, and where they feel contribution is there, and then the other people start recognizing their contribution, their confidence level goes up. When their confidence level goes up, it adds to their particular way of profile, and so it's actually a plus in all angles, even for the way they think about themselves. So it's a very beneficial, at least for next 2 3 years they do it, and then they can identify which are the right roles and the businesses, and they can.
Yeah, so thank you, Fanindra. Thank you, Kasha. I completely agree. Being RELP of year 2018 myself, I went through this process, right? So for 6 months, I was in a team. Other 6 months, I was in working capital and trade finance. Then I got placed into the same team. Now I'm in investments. And what clearly Kashyap mentioned that you can connect everything, right? So how being on the working capital side, trade finance, you realize why you have to keep the cost of capital low, right? How you are generating spread income and all those things. So yeah, I completely agree. And I think we can put on these slides now. Yeah, so we have this um, uh, slide for RELP. We can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so if we can just zoom into this. So this is how the program is structured, right? You come into the company from your campuses. Then at that point of time you have four functional track. Obviously you have to decide whether you have to go into HR, finance, operation, general management, etc. Then according to your tracks you will have two stint in the first year, stint 1 and stint 2. And in these two stint, you will completely be a part of the team. You will do both the things. You will do business as usual, what we call BAU, as well as you will be designated a specific project or projects depending on how efficiently you are doing them. That is there. And then obviously in this 1 year is a great learning curve experience. I have experienced myself. You have multiple connect, your HR business partners, which is the talent acquisition team who have taken you up from the campus. They are in constant connect with you. You have coffee connect with the leaders. I do remember few of my juniors, they directly had coffee connects with a joint CFO. Like joint CFO of REL is having discussion with you on how your stint is going. That is a big deal. That is how well structured, well thought of this program is. We had our connect with treasurer himself. Okay, that is there. Then in the company, always you have your alumni. Alumni in the sense from the campus you are coming. You will assign a buddy. You can always go them for any professional, personal help. Then for your on the job learning is happening with the help of the projects that you are doing. Apart from that, your academic kind of learning will happen because of the learning modules that you have. And then obviously there are multiple, every quarterly you have batch connect in the sense that all the RELP, which are like all the management trainees, come together once in a quarter. And then either in the company campus or you go to some other place for outbound, right? That is how the first year ends. You have reviews, obviously mid review and final review, and as per your review and availability of the role and your interest, you're assigned a final role in the second year, right? And the long-term benefits of being a part of this batch obviously is you have more opportunities for career acceleration. You have programs related to that, which is dedicated to you. That is one. Second, you have lots of growth opportunities. A very specific program dedicated to management trainees. So this is how it is structured first year and second year, and then obviously you get subsumed into a role, right? So how this is structured. So I just wanted to share the experience because I'm a part of this. I've been through this. So I think I thought it would be helpful for people to get it directly from the horse's mouth, so to say, right? So we're almost at the end of the stream, Kashyap and Fanindra. Before parting our ways for the evening, I would request both of you to like just as a closing remark, what would you say, especially in terms of the people who are say in doubt whether they want to join this company or some other company or anything? What is your recommendation, your remarks for them, like what can they do in specific, in general, in life, etc.
I mean, if eventually any of anybody ends up joining RIL at an inception of their career, I mean, the learning will clearly be very steep. The learning curve will be steep. It will be massive. You will be sooner thrown into the water than you would expect and made to swim. Obviously, there'll be life jackets, but you will not be able to see those life jackets, but they will be there around you. The relentless, as I keep relentless pursuit of excellence will ensure that you learn well, you are sharper, and that those attributes will eventually stay with you all your life. And irrespective of whether you start and end your careers with RIL, wherever you go, they will help you. uh, People are extremely warm. People are extremely approachable in RIL. Uh, Even if, as I said, even if you're put to swim, there are life jackets which you will not see. And any hard times given to a junior is only to ensure that he strengthens. The stone turns into a diamond. The rough stone turns into a diamond, and not really to break the rough stone. So yeah, I mean, exciting place, and the way the company is growing, so much is happening. uh, and we are, in spite of being a large size, right, I mean, we are growing and aspiring to do things as if we are a 30 member company, 30 employee company. So exciting place to work, clearly. And we are at that stage in the economy and in the country, in the company, where uh, apart from benefiting, the things that we are doing, right, will also not only shape the company, but it also will end up shaping the way India does things. So clearly, as employees and as senior, as people who have spent more than a decade in the company, we are damn happy and damn excited to be part of this journey with RIL. Fanindra, so up to you.
No, I think completely aligned. I think Kashyap, what you said is right. The see, two things I want to say. To the, I keep giving this as a input to a lot of new joinees and young guys. Have passion in your stomach. So let the fire keep burning. Okay, and that's the only thing which will take you to the places. The second thing is specifically if you look at finance as a role also is so critical because somehow I have seen in many corporates and also in Reliance. I think this is one of the empowered roles we have in terms of compared to others, because at the end of the day, this is like a as a CFO, I'm like a co-pilot to my CEO, right? Because you have the 10,000 feet view of the entire business, which normally you don't get in other functions because it's a very narrow view of a particular function and you don't know what's happening. But when you come to finance and then move up to the ladder to a senior level, of course, you guys will come in. The view of the business and the strategic inputs which you are giving, actually you can see the difference happening to the business. That's the best part of the finance, and especially, and be it the controls, be it the strategic inputs, be it the automation, be it the various nature of business. Okay, we sell, let's say, pharma to now we don't have dairy, but we jewelry to the retail. The amount, each business, each vertical is so different. So when you start understanding it from the overall as I'm just saying as a finance because this is from that section I'm talking. I think the view which you get from this particular tower is very awesome of a business, and believe me, it will help you to shape the business. And as Kashyap said, you will be happy that you are impacting the lives of others. Believe me, that happens. And so it is a great thing to feel happy about enriching others, and also obviously yourself. Ensure that have the passion and let the fire burning and take the right decision.
Yes, thank you, Fanindra and Kashyap. And I would just before concluding, even I agree 100% to what both of you have said. And just to borrow what Kashyap said just few minutes back, if I can sum up my 3 years, my 3.5 years in Reliance, especially what all the things that company is doing despite being biggest in the country. right? Just to borrow what Kashyap said, maybe, just maybe, we are an elephant, but with the agility and speed of a cheetah. That's all I can say. That is there. So just before to conclude, I think we have tried to take most of the questions. We have a time limit. We are approaching that. So thank you, Kashyap. Thank you, Fanindra, for taking out time and for such an insightful conversation. I'm sure that all the participants who have joined, they have found this useful. And to participants, we cannot wait to see some of your big ideas featuring in this season of the Ultimate Pitch, which is season 7. In case still you have not registered, please head on to reliancetup.in and register right now. Okay, once again, thank you, Kashyap and Fanindra, and to everyone, all the best for a long career ahead. Stay safe and have a good evening.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.